I testified.
I testify.
I testify.
I testified.
I testified.
I testify.
I testified.
I testified.
So my name is Victoria Leanna Rocha, and I currently work at Fresno City College as a student peer mentor for the Rising Scholars Program, where we work with formerly incarcerated students who are trying to change their life through education. And I'm also a full-time student at Fresno State University to acquire my bachelor's degree in social work. So my struggle with addiction really began when I was, I want to say 11, 12. You know, my parents were fighting their own battles, so I just really felt like that was what life was. That's all we seen, so that's all we knew. So my first time going to jail, I'll start there, was because of my drug use, was 3 days after I turned 18. I did a year flat is what they call it, which is a whole year in county jail. And I got out and I was on probation and I got pregnant with my oldest son. I was out for 6 months and I did a petty theft and they sentenced me to 2 years in prison, except this time I was pregnant with my oldest son. The just cost $54 that I went to prison for pregnant. Giving birth to my son, I went into labor in the chow hall, and that's where you eat in the prison. And I didn't even know if it was labor or what, because it was my first child, and that was scary already. So February 11th, they drove me to Madera County Hospital, and I was in labor for a day and a half with my ankle handcuffed to the bed. And wishing I didn't make that mistake. Crying for my dad. Pushing my son out with my ankle cuffed to bed, to the point where the CO felt sorry for me and grabbed my hand like if she was my mother and helped me give birth to my son. And after I had him, anytime I wanted to hold him, I had to ask to be uncuffed. If I wanted to feed him, I had to ask to be uncuffed. There wasn't no just laying him on my chest like like you would see in a movie. It was, can I hold my son, knowing that I would have to leave him in 3 days. So after those 3 days, the social worker comes in and says, okay, your parents are here to pick up your son. You know, you gotta say goodbye. And they give you a Polaroid picture of the picture they took of your child when he was born. And that's all you get to go back with, is a picture. What changed me was 2012, I was sitting in a jail cell and I was looking at 9 years in prison because I continued my addiction, because I had this continued guilt and shame and all these things that were not addressed. And I'll never forget what kind of made me go back to church was I got a letter from my son Adrian, and I have that letter. And I can give you the gist of kind of what it said. And it said, Mom, I know where you're at. Dad told us, but it's okay. We're praying for you to get better and get out and do better. I felt like I still had a chance. It wasn't nothing negative that he was saying to me. It was positive, and it made me feel positive. And it kind of made me feel like, okay, you probably still got a chance to be that mom, you know, you didn't mess up that bad. And so when I went to court 2 days later, I asked the judge, well, the judge asked me, if I let you go home right now, what would you do? I looked at him and I said, I don't know, probably use. And he said, he kind of like his, you know, I think I caught him off guard because I was so honest. He was like, I see something in you. And he started naming each and every one of my kids, because mind you, this was not my first time in front of this judge. And he was like, are you ready to be a mom? And I was like, I'm ready. And what would you do if I let you go to a program? And I was like, please, like, this is what I need. And he granted me that. And I went to Evangel Home. And I stood there for 3 years, first for 9 months to work on myself, because I really felt like it was within me that I needed to change. I graduated and I asked my daughter, who was living with my mom at the time, how she felt about moving with me, because she was 6 months when I gave her to my parents. And I showed her the apartment that they had for us, which was a 1-bedroom apartment. And I said, well, let's just start with you spending the night. And kind of went from there. And then she came, she lived with me. And then my son, Elijah, came and visited for Easter. And he said, Mom, I want to live with you. And it was just like, you know, and I told him, you call and ask your daddy and make sure it's okay. We had something tragic happen in 2014. Their dad passed away. And my other 2 boys came home to live with me. My kids were mourning a parent, and then they were fearing coming home to this woman that let them down, you know. So we lived at the program, a 1-bedroom apartment, all of us, except for my oldest son and my son Adrian. My dad took to him. And we did the program life. And I put my life on hold for a little while so I can bond with them and be with them as they mourned. And I just wanted to let them have my undivided attention in the process of me trying to recover, in the process of me trying to establish myself back into society as a changed woman. It was difficult. I was scared. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that I was going to do it. I didn't ever think that my oldest son would move home. And after 16 years, he came home. So it made me feel like I was doing something right. It made me feel like if their dad is watching, he's proud. This will be the first that I have all my children living home with me, because like I said, my oldest just moved back in November of last year. So it'll be my first that I have all of us living under one roof, living with me on Mother's Day. Mother's Day happens to fall on their dad's birthday this year. So it's kind of bittersweet. So my message to those moms who are out there wondering if they should take that step or if they should keep fighting, please don't give up. Look for help. Ask for help. It took 16 years for my son to come home. And it took it took 4 years for me to get my other kids back. And it is possible. There is light at the end of that tunnel. There is purpose. There is reason. They do need you. So please do not give up. And there are resources in the community to help you. It took a village for me to get to where I am to have my children. My name is Victoria Rocha, and I testify because I am that mother who got a second chance at being a mother, and me and my children are better for it.